Bitcoin got the much needed weekly close that we've been looking for, and that's brought some newfound confidence back into the altcoin market, with some of the altcoins starting to break out. So in today's show, we're going to have a look at which altcoins look primed to move the best and whether we're going to have continuation of this Bitcoin pump. Make sure you smash the like button, hit the bell notification, and subscribe to the channel, and then let's get straight into it. We are looking at Bitcoin over here on the weekly time frame, and our green line was the area that we wanted to see clearance above, especially so on a closing basis. And as you can see over here, we got exactly that, which would suggest that even if we do get a pullback in the short term in the form of a little bit of a shakeout, you should still see continuation higher above this point. And then the next target becomes those previous candle highs on the weekly, which are lining up around that $71,000. As soon as you get above that $71,000, I'm sure it's going to be well on its way into new all-time highs, and most of the altcoins will start to follow on suit. We've spoke about how you are also the rest of the market is starting to gain acceptance that there'll be diminishing returns for Bitcoin, or at least you're not going to get the same results that you probably could in altcoins, and so the psychology will start to shift. So we're going to have a look at the whole altcoin season index and when you could potentially see this major psychological shift within the markets and where those altcoins might start to run, because the gains have mostly been had on Bitcoin, right? I mean, if in your better case scenarios, you're looking at about another 3x gain for Bitcoin within this cycle, and your realistic scenario would be even that might be an upper limit of a 2x return for Bitcoin. So that's what we're looking at over there. Ultimately, this is the expectation, right? We've had the halving cycle over here, and we're now starting to move into the expansive phase for Bitcoin. So let's see how much higher this can move. If you look at the altcoins over here, you can see that a lot of them are starting to put in some pretty big weekly gains. There's Chainlink, there's Arweave, there's Solana, which we've been long on for quite some time. So we've done really, really well on the Solana trade. You've got Ondo. So we also spoke last week about how the memes are lacking the attention right now, and the attention started to shift more into the utility tokens, things with actual use cases. Phantom also up significantly. Bonk is, of course, one of the outliers within the meme coin index. So this is your Bitcoin cycle current to date, the return on investment measured from peak to peak. We are in the green cycle over here, which is cycle 5. So currently you can see the trajectory it's following along more or less very, very similar to that cycle 2 and 3, which were the previous two cycles that we had for the Bitcoin run. And ultimately we are looking for continuation higher, right? So we've seen that he has 4 very important charts as per TED Talks macro, which we do need to look at, right? These are important and give us a higher time frame outlook and a guide to what you can expect next. So the 65-month liquidity cycle shows that liquidity is coming back into the market, and ultimately you can expect continuation higher. That lines up with the M2 money supply, which ultimately shows, is the market growing or is it contracting? If it's in expansion, then you expect that that money will flow into risk on assets. And then we have crypto liquidity week on week on the histogram is also recently just ticked up, and also the same thing that we're seeing over here with the ETF inflows coming back with positive gains over there. So new inflows back into the market. We've had a healthy reset on the BBWP, officially printing those blue signals as of this week. So that's showing you a recontraction, right? A contraction, which then leads to expansion. I always like to describe this BBWP indicator like an elastic band, right? Think of it like the elastic band. As you squeeze it and squeeze it and squeeze it, you pull it apart, or not squeeze it, but sorry, you pull it apart. That's the same thing as this squeezing. And eventually you can only pull it to a certain distance, and then you need to release it. When you release it, that's what leads to the next big move. So think of this like the elastic band being really stretched apart. That contraction will eventually lead to an expansion, which is like releasing the elastic band. On ETH on the left-hand side, it hasn't got quite as low as Bitcoin, but it has come down quite significantly. And you can see all the previous times, right? When we had the blueprints down here, that led to a prolonged consolidation. This consolidation was about, I think, 3 to 6 months. And then ultimately that led to a huge move towards the upside. So you do still have middle of the Bollinger Band support coming in for Bitcoin. Your worst case scenario would be $59,000. And you can see Ethereum on the left-hand side caught exactly at that middle Bollinger Band right now. So What could bring some of that newfound volatility, which would cause that expansion towards the upside? Well, here are some of the key events for this week to look out for. We have NVIDIA reporting their Q1 2024 earnings. Obviously, NVIDIA, very, very responsible as one of the main drivers for the stock market gains. In terms of weighting, it holds up a massive weight. So if this does badly, that could wipe out some of the stock market gains, which would bring prices down low. But so far, we'll go in the stock market later, but everything is looking pretty good over there for the stock market for that continuation higher. Other things to look at is we have the existing home sales data on Wednesday, Fed meeting minutes. That might be a volatility event coming up on Wednesday. The rest are pretty small. I'm not too interested in that, but you got 18 Fed speakers this week. So that could bring volatility coming in on Wednesday. Now, what are you seeing over here for Bitcoin? Well, we got multiple daily candle closes now above the 50-day moving average. And consequently, that's finally turned our super guppy indicator green again. And you can see if you look at the history of this run and what we've had within this cycle, every time, right? There you go from gray to green. It leads to pretty expansive moves. That's where that BBWP starts to expand back towards the upside, and you get these nice moves. Recontracts, starts to turn green. That's your opportunity to go long. I'm actually noticing quite a big similarity over here. If you look at that candle, as soon as it turned green, you chopped around, pulled back into that level, and then consequently went up towards the upside. Now look at what you're having, right? The candle looks very, very similar. You had a red candle. This candle looks exactly like the last one that's starting to print. So expect there will be a little bit of chop, and then the super guppy should hold you in for the next major section of the move. And we spoke about this a whole lot throughout the last few weeks. We spoke about the W formation, which was forming over here, the sweep below the range low, which was clearly coming in at 61K. We hit that level over there. You ultimately got a swing failure pattern breaking back into the range, and prices started to move. Yes, there is a bit of resistance over here because it is your mid-range level coming in at $67,000, but you do have a lot of support over here. You have your pivot level, you have your 200 EMA on the 1 hour and the 4 hour time frames, as well as the yellow and pink, which is the 9 and 18 exponential moving average. So any pullbacks that come into this region over here are going to be bid up. What is this region? Well, 65K. If you see price pulling back into 65K, that's going to be bid up, and I expect the next big push to take out the mid-range, and then you can start to target that range high level. So very, very quick mention, the Champions Arena is on right now. It's your battle for $1 million worth of prize money. That's in the prize pool right now as per CoinW. There is a link in the description below. Click that link below if you do want to participate. There it is. That is the battle. It's a trade competition. Go through, click the link, and feel free to participate. Liquidity on high block capital. This is clearly defining the range, the same range that I've just shown you on the daily time frame. You can see that's your range high, that's your range low. Liquidity is stacked both above and below. And I said it's just a matter of time before you tag one of these levels. And the most likely outcome is that we're going to target the top side first. Why do I say that? Well, you already went pretty deep into the bottom liquidity over here. And for the most part, I would say that liquidity has officially been swept. That was also in agreement when you look at the funding rates over here, which went negative into that sweep below. Negative funding rates within a bull market is a buy the dip opportunity. So a little bit of a buy the dip opportunity there, another one over there. And could you get one more? Yes, it is possible. You could see something like that. But for the most part, this is why we spoke about scaling into the position in, for example, a position like this, where you're taking smaller positions and then bigger and bigger, and as you get closer to the invalidation zone, which was ultimately this $50,000 region, which was the order block that led to the upside move, you want to scale in more and more into that position. So this is the benefit of scaling into trades and not waiting for the exact zone to get hit, because sometimes it doesn't get hit, right? Sometimes you see something like this and price starts to move up. You can even see that there is, in terms of chart patterns, a little bit of an inverse head and shoulders pattern over here, which is also starting to break out towards the upside. And the measured move of that target, I believe, takes you up to about $74,000. All whilst this is happening simultaneously on the daily time frame, the funding rates continue to remain very, very low, in some instances even negative. This is a pretty healthy sign. This is ultimately what you want to see when you are putting in a major high or low. And I would say more likely than not, that move to the downside that we had at about that the $55,000 region, that is probably going to be a higher low on a macro scale, and you're going to have continuation onwards and upwards. You guys know that we're long on RUNE. It's one of our bigger positions over here. We're continuing to hold, and we're still looking to target the previous month's high. Now, let's have a quick look on the weekly time frame at some other notable coins. Another one that's in a very, very solid area of interest for me personally is going to be SUI, right? SUI's got a pretty tight range over here. If you look at the range levels, it's last week's wick high and last week's wick low. So easy invalidation. If you take out last week's low, well, you stop out of the long position. As soon as you break above last week's high, I think that signifies that you're probably going to start to get expansion. And you can see that the stochastic RSIs, so all your momentum oscillators, have really been reset all the way down to the bottom, and we're looking for continuation back up. So that's one that I'm looking at. The other one I wanted to look at as well, given the earnings that's going to be coming out for NVIDIA, I wanted to have a look at Render, because sometimes these things do tend to trade, according to those major events. So let's have a quick look at Render. What does Render look like? Okay, Render looks pretty similar to Solana in the sense that you did have a big move towards the downside, and now this is looking like continuation, confirmation of the breakout will be above those prior highs. So on the weekly time frame, it's not that great, but if you look at Solana, this is your picture on Solana. Once we get above the previous month's high over here, you can see I mentioned that this is very, very unlikely to be a top for Solana. You don't typically see the markets top out, with candles that look like this. Equal highs on the weekly basis all throughout here. Failure to close above that showed a little bit of a reset in momentum, and I assume that the next time that we come into this 205 level, you're probably going to start to break above that, and then it's going to get absolutely sent for Solana. But Solana has been outperforming the majority. It's been looking really, really good. So if you do want the rest of the altcoins, guys, help me out over here. Smash the like button. It really helps to get the show content out there, especially since I changed the show time and I'm streaming at an irregular time slot over here. So smash the like button. Let's continue. That is your RUNE trade, right? That is your RUNE trade. You can see we came back into the zone over there, and we're looking at still a much greater move towards the top side over here at about 870. Okay. Also, we have over here BitGet. So similar to CoinW, it's all around these soccer tournaments that are currently going on. You have 23 days to participate in this. Root for your team, spin the wheel. They have a little competition over here. You can win 300,000 Pepe. If you use the link below, you spin the wheel over here. It's going to land on one of these: 50 Doge, 5 BGB, 3 Matic, 1 Solana. You get a crypto soccer kit. So you can see a whole bunch here. You better hope you don't land on the 10 XRP. I think that's a losing trade over there. So use the link below. Check it out over there. And then also a reminder, by participating with these signups below, you can just bring up the banter bags for us quickly. Hardest, if you can just put that up. If you go into the link in the description below as well, you're going to see the banter bags. Remember, the banter bags are back. This is something that Crypto Banter ran last cycle. And what it meant for you, the audience, is by signing up to the exchange links below that are listed under the banter bag section and depositing, you'll automatically be entered. You need to subscribe to this channel and Banter Plus, and ultimately they're going to select a winner. The banter bags is made up of a whole bunch of different IDO allocations, so seed round investments that most of you wouldn't be able to get into, right? It's only generally for VCs. Given Crypto Banter's media influence, they've been given the opportunity to get into these banter bags. They put $1,000 into each of those, and at the end, once these metrics are hit, once we get to the subscriber count, anyone who had signed up and made a deposit on those links will be in the draw, and then they're going to draw out the winners, which, honestly speaking, is probably going to be in the region of millions of dollars, literally millions of dollars, because $1,000 in each does about 100x return. So it's $100,000 in each bag, and there's over 10 different bags in the banter bag. So use those links below, sign up, deposit. If you don't have any of these exchange links, that's a great opportunity to get into that competition. Okay, let's look at Total 3. Total 3, this is our outlook. This is what we want to see happen for bullish continuation. We want to see total 3 after a prolonged period of consolidation. Focus on those weekly candles, right? Just failure after failure after failure to break down, right? So if bears were to be in control, you would have wanted to see them break this level down, and they couldn't. That's week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks of consolidating at those lows and unable to break below that level means that you're probably going to start to see a little bit of expansion soon. And once you get into the yellow zone, this is where the bulls begin to take control. Maybe you're going to get about 4 or 5 more weeks of consolidating into those prior highs at about an $800 billion market cap level, and that pent up pressure should lead to a pretty explosive breakout towards the top side. So is it alt season? Well, the simple answer is no, right? Because by definition, it's not alt season. Alt season will be when the majority of the altcoins are outperforming Bitcoin, and that definitely isn't the case. But typically, you want to trade this at the extremities, right? So when Bitcoin is in very, very strong trending Bitcoin season, which we close to. Why? Because, well, you can look at the Bitcoin dominance, right? The Bitcoin dominance is pushing up towards that 60 level. I reckon once it gets about that 60% level, and this pushes down back into Bitcoin season, that's when you want to start to look to reallocate into some of the altcoins that are at key levels of support, which we'll focus a bit more on in today's show. We'll have a look at those levels, and then you're looking to scale out when you start to trend very, very strongly into the altcoin season, because it's very, very short-lived. If you look at the historical times that we've spent within that altcoin season, that's when you want to start dollar cost averaging out when you get above that 75-80 mark, right? So there's a really good thread over here from Crypto Amsterdam. It's super long, so I'm not going to go through everything, but he does outline some very key factors over here. So he says, is altcoin bull market coming? Question mark. I mean, is it ever coming? A lot of people have obviously been wondering for quite some time, and this is how it goes every cycle. They always call it just around the corner, just around the corner, just around the corner. And they say that on repeat for probably over 12 to 18 months, and then they capitulate because it never comes, and then it comes. So that's what you want to focus on. You can look at some of the charts over here. The market tends to move through phases, right? We know the psychological phases: hope, optimism, belief, thrill, euphoria. Then you have a complacency bounce, which is your lower high. And then you start to go into the bear market: anxiety, denial, panic, capitulation, anger, depression phase, which is that lull period that lasts for such a long period of time. And you can even argue that some of the altcoins are probably still within this depression phase, only slowly starting to move into disbelief. And as you move from disbelief above that level, then you can see that's where hope comes, right? If you look to the left-hand side, well, my head's in the way, 1 second, there you go. If you look just next to my head, that is where hope comes, right? Hope comes after disbelief, and then you start to move up pretty aggressively. Now, some of the coins already look to be within this hope phase, right? Things like the stronger moving coins like Solana. Solana's obviously firmly within this phase. Solana's probably even between belief and thrill, slowly starting to move into that zone. But if you fast forward through this, and you have a look, let me quickly go to that other section that he had over here. You can look at the range levels for Bitcoin. So here's your 2-week time frame. Now, every time you come into one of these consolidations at the prior all-time highs, that leads to a build-up or an order block that creates enough momentum to explode towards the upside. The same is true in the last cycle, right? There you had the consolidation, led to a big move up. Now you're getting that consolidation once again at those range highs. So is it possible that alt season is still coming? Well, for that, you need to go through to the ETH BTC metrics, right? So let's quickly find it over here for the ETH BTC. Here we have it. Okay, so when you look at ETH USD and ETH BTC, it says when ETH BTC bounces, then you'd expect ETH USD to reclaim the mid-range, which is coming in at about $3,200. And then once you see that, you're going to form a range fake out setup, right? The trigger plan will be the reclaim of the mid-range and a break below the low time frame market structure trend line. We know that the ETH ETF is coming up, right? They actually need to make a decision. I believe it's 3 days from now. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It should be on Thursday. There should be some sort of decision around the approval or denial of the ETF. Now, remember, if they deny those ETFs, then there's still bigger ones coming up by BlackRock and Fidelity, the big hitters. That's going to be coming up later on in the year. So then the probable approval will be at the next one, right? Either way, we just want to get this out of the way so it doesn't become a narrative anymore. Whether it's approved or denied, that will give the market certainty. The market hates uncertainty, right? And that will bring newfound certainty back into the market. So we're looking at that. That's one of the plans. And where is this? There's such a long thread over here. If you look at ETH BTC, well, I'll go to ETH BTC on my own chart so we can have a quick look at that. So let's quickly pull that up over here. And let's go to ETH BTC. Here we go. This is a vitally important chart to be looking at. Actually, I have it over here. Let's just go back. It's already there. Okay. ETH BTC. Where is my charts over here? ETH BTC. Okay. Yeah, we have it. ETH BTC, here it is. So where are we at? Because we're going through a little bit of a capitulation zone down here. Now, the expectation would be, because we're coming into a fair value gap right now, there you can see it's actually marked off by the indicator. I was going to draw it. We do have an indicator over here, which also measures out for you. As you revisit into the middle zone over there, that's a high probability bouncer. So focus on that as it comes into these key events with the ETF approval / denial, 0.043. Very, very, very significant level. Full invalidation of any longs. Well, there isn't a long on the table yet, right? You have to wait for the market to prove to you because this can take time, right? You can see price just continue to grind, or at least ETH BTC, the ratio to continue to grind into this level. But you would expect something like this to take place within this zone. Now, if that doesn't happen, well, then you might be going through a major capitulation event and distribution, and then you probably have bigger problems on your hand and you don't want to touch ETH anyway. So that's one thing that we're waiting for. The other chart that I have over here is Solana ETH, which you can see is clearly doing phenomenally well. Currently, right now, as we speak, it's busy breaking out to new yearly highs, which is super significant. Here is the Solana chart. This is where we went long in the circle down here, and now we're targeting up to the top side of the range. So as a percentage, this is still how much upside you have left, probably about another 15-16%. Now, there's very few trades that are in the zone for the breakout. A lot of the coins have already started to break out, and we identified those last week. One of the coins, as I mentioned, that seems decent is SUI, right? So I'm looking for something like this. In the same way that we got a W formation on Bitcoin, you can see over there a little bit of a W formation. I'm looking for something similar over here on SUI. So if you're looking to build a long on SUI right now, stops would obviously be below those previous daily candle lows, and you're looking for some support to be found over here, some reaccumulation. Use the low time frame to get your trigger, right? And then you're targeting all the way to the top side. If you do start to break above those range level highs, then you can target the next level, which is going to be at about $2. Okay, let's quickly look again at render on the lower time frame. We saw it on the high time frame. Let's have a look at render. How is render doing? And you can also drop some of your altcoin requests if you have any. I will be bringing those up. Let's see, render. Okay, also kind of sloppy, similar to the high time frame over there. Not really too much to look at. What about RUNE on the daily? Let's have a look quickly. There we have it. Okay, so here's RUNE on the daily. We're looking for RUNE to break above these highs over here. We really need to see RUNE get above the order block zone over here. I think longer term RUNE is really, really solid. I'll be looking for some longer term plays there. That's why I've also been, of course, taking the leverage long, which we're still currently in. Let's see if it can get above 780. If it can, we're looking at further expansion for RUNE. Some of the other ones that's probably worth looking at, let's have a look at the other AI tokens because of NVIDIA. Okay, so XAI, terrible. This is gaming and AI in one. As soon as it lost this level over here, you can see what happened, right? Lower low, lower high, and then just straight distribution towards the downside. What about Ocean? Okay, also very, very sloppy in the middle of nowhere. I wouldn't touch that as a trade. If you look at GRT, not much to comment. Fetch AI, which obviously did very, very well. I'd be still looking for a deeper sweep back into this zone over here. So a lot of these are looking very, very choppy. AGIX also looking pretty choppy. In terms of meme coins, right? A lot of them are getting pretty hammered. I want to look at WIF. Where's WIF? Is WIF even on here? Am I missing it? Okay, let's just quickly put WIF on. I want to look at WIF because typically when Solana pumps, then WIF pumps, right? So if Solana is doing well right now, let's see what WIF is doing. So WIF is in a decent zone. Personally speaking, that's a really decent zone for reaccumulation. I do expect that this should hold as a range low, right? This should hold as a range low. Now, of course, you need to have an invalidation and you need to say where you're totally wrong on this idea. Where would that be? For me personally, this would be where you'd be wrong on the idea. So let's just grab our magnet over there. There you go. If you break below $1.62, probably start to cut your longs on WIF. I think I'll be willing to give the longs the benefit of the doubt, especially if there's any wicks that just quickly come into that area and you see immediate reaccumulation, right? Reclaim of that range low, which is the bottom of the yellow box. Then I think this is a reaccumulation zone looking for high prices eventually for WIF. Okay, moving on. I see that the boys and girls are longing GME with hat again. So it is starting to pick up. It's got a nice little bid over here. I'm still in my positions over there. Look, I obviously got a very, very, very low entry. So even after that major capitulatory event down here, I was still up something like 8x. So probably I'm up now. I mean, at this point, I'm probably up, I would say maybe like 50x. At these levels. So I am still holding. I'm still holding. The other one, what was the other one that was related to this? Kitty with hat. How's this one doing? Market cap wise, it's at about the same place. Price wise, not so good. It's at new lows. This one's not doing great. Which other ones do we have to look at? How's Gummy doing? Gummy is, let's move on to a higher time frame, 4-hour chart. Okay, Gummy is gaining acceptance below the range low. You guys know, even though this is theoretically a coin that was launched by Banter, I always say it as it is, right, guys? I always say it as it is. So far, this looks bearish. Of course, you got lower lows and lower highs. It's distributing. You are below the range low. Where does it become bullish? We always have to be honest with ourselves. Yes, this wick looks beautiful as a potential bottom. If you look at that wick over there on the 4-hour time frame as a reversal candle, but where do you confirm that it's starting to gain strength again? Only if you gain acceptance above this range low, right? You need to see something like that. So we have to always be honest with ourselves. What about 𝗓𝗘𝗓? And I'm a very big holder on 𝗓𝗘𝗓, and I'll also always be honest with regards to this chart. So let's see. Okay, 𝗓𝗘𝗓 is holding the mid-range. So what I would say about 𝗓𝗘𝗓 is so long as you can consolidate between the purple zones, which is the range low and the range high, I think it looks okay for reaccumulation. I don't want to say continuation yet. I'd rather use the word reaccumulation. This becomes a reaccumulation range. The psychology of the market begins to pivot and shift, gaining acceptance that this is the fair level price for that particular coin, right? So that's what we're looking at there. Let's see, what are the other ones that we gave last week? Let's look at Pepe coin. So how did Pepe coin do? We started to get the move out from here, so that's looking good. Hit the fair value gap, pushing up high highs, high lows. Any price action that comes back down to 360, in my opinion, is a good zone to buy the dip, right? Let's look at Based AI. So quickly go into Based AI. All right, what other ones do you guys have? Let me know. Let me know if there's something that you want charted. Based AI, we said we'll probably start to follow along in accordance with what you're seeing Pepe coin do. And it is, right? You're starting to push out of that clear support level, putting in higher highs and high lows. There it is, looking really good for continuation. I already filled my bags on both Pepe coin and Based AI, pretty much at these lows over here coming into the support levels. So far, so good. It is looking really good. Now, in terms of meme coins, right? Also think about while they are getting knocked, so you don't become a top buyer in the middle of the hype. If these things were to come back, remember you can allocate a very small amount right now, probably 1/10 of what you would have FOMO'd in with previously, and you would actually have the same position size actually maybe even bigger depending on how far down the coin is. Now, think of it, total cat coin market cap 1.4 billion, total dog coin market cap 42 billion, right? So there is a bit of catching up to do over there, which means that risk to reward, sometimes if you can find the right cat, then that, I mean, it sounds so ridiculous how we're talking here, but if you can find the right cat, then there is a potential bid in place, right? So I think 𝗓𝗏 is a pretty good one because it is coming into key support. I think 𝗓𝗏 is a really, really good one to accumulate. This is the cat on Solana. I think if I had to place my bet on one of the cats, this would be one of them. The other two cats that I have is HEMULE. So let's go to HEMULE, which is Vitalik's cat. The only problem is I don't see ETH running for, or ever out really performing Solana. So that's the only thing. 𝗓𝗏 is on Solana, HEMULE is on ETH. And this is your picture, right? It's not looking good. I'm honest, it's not looking good. The other one that we have over there is 𝗕𝗬𝗕𝗥. And this one probably looks similar, right? Even worse than HEMULE. In terms of market cap, it's dropped more, but it is holding the range level. You have a massive inefficiency over here. It's probably going to try and fill that now. So that it is 𝗕𝗬𝗕𝗥. Those are the cats, right? Those are your cat options. I like 𝗓𝗏, even though I don't actually hold a position on it yet. I like 𝗓𝗏 because I just think that in terms of fees, there's less barrier to entry. The problem is with these coins on ETH, there's a big barrier to entry, and that's the ETH fees, right? ETH fees are very, very cheap right now, but as the market starts to run up, they become very, very expensive. For example, if you were trading out of or into 𝗕𝗬𝗕𝗥 at these highs over here, at that time, the ETH fees were something like about $90 per transaction, which is absolutely insane. That prices out the majority of people. Whereas on Solana, the fees are pretty much always really, really cheap. So that's something to focus on over there. Now, before we go into the other altcoin requests, I'll just show you the results of where we're at with 𝗕𝗏𝗕. On Saturday in the stream, I gave away 2 Solana. I'll be looking to do the same thing for the rest of you DJs. Use the link in the description below. Go there, because not only are you participating in the little competition where I'm doing a giveaway, but ultimately by transacting on 𝗕𝗏𝗕, you qualify for the airdrop, right? They're going to be doing a massive 𝗕𝗏𝗕 airdrop. You're going to be getting GUMMY tokens, so your share of GUMMY tokens airdropped into your account, as well as the Solana giveaway, as well as 𝗕𝗏𝗕, right? The Solana giveaway comes from yours truly, which is me, right? So have a look over there. Help me out over here. I do want to catch up to Ran, just because he gives me a lot of trouble with these things. He's quite a competitive person. So using your guys' help, if you go and trade on here, if you sign up, do a few swaps, it will help, right? Helps to get the ranking up over there, and they'll be doing the giveaway. What is 𝗕𝗏𝗕? For those of you like, what the hell are you talking about? Remember, you can bridge from different chains. Yeah, Ran, what did you say about 𝗕𝗏𝗕 this morning? You're complaining, right? And he was, I should read the messages of what Ran said about.
Needs to come to the party. I think at least you're at the party, you know what I mean?
But you see, Ran is always bringing us down when we have low scores. So help me out over here. Let's catch up to top 10 position. But what is 𝗕𝗏𝗕? Very, very quickly, 𝗕𝗏𝗕, you can select a token on various different chains. So if you want to move, let's say randomly from Arbitrum, and you want to trade from Tether, which is on Arbitrum, into Solana on the Solana chain, you can make the swap seamlessly right over there. So I think that's it. I'll see you guys all on the next one. Have an absolutely fabulous day, and cheers for now.